Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Hey, come on in. It's time for us to get some inspiration and some motivation. Let's get something that when we know life comes and kicks us in the teeth, we can turn it all around and still have a good life. May not be that perfect life you thought you was ever going to have at the beginning, but we know that when life comes around and it comes around and it comes around and did I mention it comes around? All right, so take a little piece of something that you can learn that's going to help you get through that a little easier and still have a great life. All right, today, our guest, this is going to hit me pretty good. All right, I mentioned about my brother that has died 2 weeks before his 38th birthday from alcoholism. And so this guy here, he had, they said, live the high life. Okay. He worked with a business that was owned by one of the biggest cocaine dealers on the East Coast. He partied with musicians and professional athletes while self-medicating on drugs and alcohol. He has found his way, recovered, and now his mission is to help other people recover and have the best life possible. Welcome to the show, Craig Brown.
James, thank you for having me.
Hey, man, this is awesome.
Great to be with you.
Author of the book, Stop Hiding, Start Healing. Okay, let me put other one here. It's discover how to be set free from the pain and shame of your past so that you can live a life of freedom, meaning, and purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah, Craig, I'm glad you're here. Again, this is going to hit dear to me because, again, with the alcoholism, my brother, not to say I've never taken a drink before, okay?
Right.
But I was, I don't know, hard enough, blessed enough, whatever, that I did become an alcoholic, okay?
Right.
And I don't know what the true term of alcoholism is now, but, you know, I can go 20 years without a drink, and then I can say, hey, let me take a drink, and then, and I'm not, and I know some people, I ride the line, and I'm not trying to judge people for what their alcoholism is. I just know from my experience, my brother, the way he, died and stuff. And I know I sound harsh, but I'm not trying to do that to people. We each have our each and own thing. But again, when it's controlling your life so bad that it's going to kill you,
right,
you need to make a change.
Right. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And that's the first chapter of my book. When the pain is greater than your fear, you're ready to change. And alcohol, drug use, failed marriage, challenges in relationships, challenges with health, challenges in finances, challenges, whatever they are, you will never change until the pain is greater than your fear. And that is something that happened in my own life. And over the last 2 decades of serving others in Christ Center Recovery, what I have observed in thousands of lives. And when people finally get to the point where they can't take it anymore, or finally get to the point where they are in that what I call desperation moment, they have a choice: continue on the same path, or get over your fear of changing. And when they do the latter, miracles happen. Happen in my life, miracles happen. But you mentioned alcohol. People don't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, I think today's the day I'm going to start drinking.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very simple, James. It sounds really simple. But you know why we smoke dope or drink or do drugs or whatever? Because we wanted to fit in.
I'm like you, want to fit in, but also it's to hide from whatever we're discomfort with too, isn't it?
Well, that's where it began.
Yeah.
It began as I just want to fit in. I'm going to the frat party, going to that party, going after the game, going to this. law firms celebrate with these big, when they have these big wins, they bring out the champagne and, I mean, it's, you want to fit in. And a lot of people just don't have the self-discipline or self-control to say no. Why? Because at a very early age, we had very little self-discipline or self-control, and we just wanted to give in. We just wanted to fit in.
Hmm.
Then, right, it becomes a habit. And then as a result of that habit, you have created you know, an enormous amount of pain issues in your life that affects everything. Your relationships, your self-esteem, your perseverance, your motivation, and therefore you medicate that pain on a regular basis, and you can go from one thing to another. But alcohol, drugs, pornography, anger, food, we choose a symptom, something on the surface, to medicate what's a deep rooted pain, shame, guilt, failure, and it becomes wreaks havoc in people's lives. It did mine until I was finally set free. But then, I've seen again miracle after miracle after miracle happen in people's lives when they stop hiding the pain and they start healing.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So before we go any further, you said the magic word. You said perseverance. So let me get over here and give you a fist bump.
Oh, nice.
So,
I
all
guess the
right.
fist
So
bump.
let's get in. Yeah, yeah. So how did again? You were talking about yeah, fitting in, especially in when you're in the high school and middle
Oh
school or
yeah.
junior age. You definitely want to fit in with your peer group,
Yeah, you
and
do.
the peer pressure definitely kicks in. Yeah.
It does. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I'm talking about everything. Whether it's glee club, whether it's chorus, whether it's band, whether it's athletics, whether it's, Spanish club, or, you know, so in our very young, early years, we were so impressionable. And at a very early age, we developed all these coping mechanisms to deal with whatever's going on in the home. How do we deal with pain, shame, guilt, abandonment, hurt? We were just pliable, and we're developing all these different coping mechanisms to deal with all that, right? So, but one thing that did not develop until later on was that self-discipline and self-control. And as a result of that, it was just too easy to go, to the party or to go to here and there. And people were, hey, try this. Oh, okay. And it's really, again, you want to fit in and be a part of that group, because back then you're trying to develop your identity. Man, James, I have served hundreds of people that had yet to really understand their true identity. Now, as a recovery pastor, my identity is in Christ. My identity is I am a man of God first, who happens to have struggled with certain issues in my life. And James, you'll never hear me ever address anybody as an addict or alcoholic, or because those are labels, and
Hmm.
they're labels of shame. I mean, if you're trying to set yourself free from an addiction, the last thing you should be doing is stepping up in a meeting and saying, "Hi, I'm something I'm trying to break free from." And the difference between recovery and Christ-centered recovery is your identity is as a child of God. And yes, you happen to have some struggles. We all do. Go through the Bible and look at all the defected people that we read about now, who overcame and who persevered and who worked through their issues. All of them, murderers, those that struggle with depression, those that had an affair. David had an affair, of all things. Come on. And these were people that were able to overcome all that. And they came out of hiding and began healing. And so it was the same then, and it's the same now. And, it's just your identity, again, as a youth, man, we're trying to figure out who we are. And you see the color of my hair. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still working on my identity and wanting to grow, wanting to change, wanting to be better in every facet of my life as a caregiver, people helper, husband, dad, you know, speaker, author, whatever.
Yeah, we wear these multiple hats
Yeah.
that we need to become. And again, I've talked before that our purpose, our missions, or who our identity is at that time could be thrown onto us from someone else.
Yes.
I mean, for
Influence.
my example is I was playing an endless game of football, and a guy hit me after the play was over with, broke my neck and spinal cord injury,
Oh,
and so or it could be someone driving drunk hits a family going to church, and
exactly.
so yeah, because so just because we have a certain life that we're enjoying everything
Yeah.
doesn't mean we don't find a new mission or new identity brought to us,
Right.
or we just decide to want to, maybe we saw a family member go through cancer, now we want to do something to
Yes,
help out the
exactly.
cancer society and raise money and whatever it is. Yeah, so we
Yes.
have multiple hats, and whatever we are today may not be that next year.
Well, there's a silver lining in every tragedy. There's a silver lining. Now, for me, from my perspective, Jesus is a silver lining
Hmm.
in every single hurt or tragedy, as you just mentioned. There is, and I know it's hard. Oh my goodness, I so empathize and I know for you, September 11th, 1983. I mean, what an amazing turning point in your life. Oh, I can't even, you know, I can't grasp that. And you and I have certainly heard from enough people, seen enough stories, and been had the privilege of talking to a number of different people who've gone through tragedies, and it's the ones that use that to, you know, to move them into a different mission or purpose, as you mentioned, or so God never, the saying is God never wastes a hurt, and He doesn't. But you have a choice, though. You have a choice when that tragedy happens, and one can either go into deep depression and use drugs or medicate and, go that direction, or no, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to use this in another area of my life or a new venture in my life.
Well, and even if they go into the deep depression and everything, hopefully
Yes.
they seek the counseling, they find and they get out of it, okay, and
Right.
then they discover their new purpose or whatever they're going to do. Um,
Right.
I mean, the deep depression. I was in a depression for 5 years. First 5 years being injured, poor pitiful me, and everything like that.
I bet. Yeah.
And I went to 18 different rehabs trying to find that cure to walk. And
Wow. Wow.
finally, when I really accepted what's going on here, that's when I was able to start healing and move
Hmm.
forward.
Yeah.
And there,
Well,
yeah,
that's a big word. I accepted it.
yeah. So,
And, instead of fighting it, you got to that point, and it took you a while to get there. It takes all of us,
and
a
then, like
while
you said a minute ago, um, when the pain gets,
is greater than your fear.
yeah, and then it's time to move. Yeah, time to change and move on. And I was tired of the not improving, not doing. It was time for us to move on. And I told here recently that not that I lied to people, but I mean it turned out being a lie, but I didn't mean to. But after the first 5 years in the 18th rehab, I told my family, I said, not that I'm going to try, not that I'm giving up trying to walk again, but if I'm going to have some type of life, I need to go back to college and stuff, and get a better education to have a good life
Yeah.
and from here. And again, at that time wasn't a lie. I said we just put it on the back burner. But honestly, since then, I've never been to a rehab to work on walking. It's been to build my arms up or other strengths or trying to transfer whatever. But at that time, I think it was something my family and I need to hear for us
Yes.
to move on.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
So,
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
and so the same thing. Here's one thing that I don't understand. And again, I try not to be critical, but I know I get hard when I say it, and people may get mad at me. But I've gone to other people again, like my younger brother with his drinking problem, and told this other guy one time, I was talking to him just a few months ago, and he was going, all I'm not, I'm just hurting myself. I'm not hurting no one else. And I said, hold on, buddy. I said, you don't think your loved ones are not hurt watching
Yeah.
you do what you're doing?
Yep.
And your people, that your friends that want you to do better and recover and have a better life, you don't think they're not hurting for you?
Yeah.
And then he started thinking
Yeah.
about that. And so that's one thing I don't understand is when people, I understand the addiction
Yeah.
once they get trapped into it,
Right.
but to think that they're the only ones going through it and no one else, um, and that may just be, um, what would you call, oh shoot, what is it called? Oh, what would you call that? Denial. They're just in denial from everything,
Oh,
and yeah,
totally. Totally. No, it's when someone is struggling with an addiction, it's a very selfish situation. It's a very selfish experience. They No one's thinking about anybody else but themselves. They're blaming everybody else but themselves. And they don't, it's until the day of epiphany when they finally realize they better make a decision to change, when they take responsibility, tell the truth, and are honest with themselves, God, and somebody else, and begin the process of healing and restoration and recovery. It's a very Listen, people that are struggling in that way, well, picture this, as you mentioned, picture that placid lake. Now, you take that nice sized rock and you throw that rock in that lake. The person, the rock is the person struggling with the addiction, hits the water, and every ring represents family member, relationship in that person's life. So you're absolutely right. It, and the people on the outside looking in, they feel helpless. They, I have, I write about it in the book, but families, they're at a loss. They don't know whether to add pressure. If they don't know how, to love, tough love, consequences, it's very hard. But the person involved, that is the outlook a lot of people have, because they want sympathy and they can't understand getting empathy. And there's a big difference
yeah.
between both of those, because they want, oh, you poor thing, blah, blah, blah. Here's more money. I've got family members that struggle, and they try to manipulate, get money, and they have kids and everything else. And, you know, but their sole purpose is they're myopic in their own life and their own misery, but, they don't know the effect it's having on others, and especially parents. Oh, it's so difficult for parents.
Well, I think just you mentioned it a minute ago. It's not that they don't know; they're so addictive and so selfish with themselves. They're not really caring,
Well, they
and again, they form this denial, um
oh, it
blinders,
is.
put their blinders on. So they don't want to know how it's affecting anyone else. They just want to keep it to themselves.
Yeah, well, yeah. They want it. I Yeah, I talk about it in the book about the secret struggle, and they do. They want to, they want to keep it secret from as many people as they can, but all the people around them know something's up.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
bibli but biblically, we're instructed to go and help restore that person, and that's essentially what I've been doing for quite a few years. And but you have to want the help. You have to be at a place where you're
Yeah.
ready to make
Yes.
changes. I mean, I've been in more than one intervention where, the person immediately stormed out of the room, or one stayed long enough to hear from the family members. There were some that were successful, some that were not. Um, but it's up to the pain level in that person's life. And, it's amazing, of the average number of confrontations in a person's life until they finally go to get help, I think is on average of like 57. I was reading in some literature. 57 times someone was approached about, their
Hmm.
struggle. And, some get it, some don't.
Yeah.
But when the pain's greater than their fear, trust me.
We talked right before we got started here, and I got this friend that's known over 40 years and struggling with addiction and everything, and he was incarcerated from his deeds from when he would get high or drunk, and
Mhm.
one of the programs they wanted to do was AA through there, and he'd already been through AA before and some other stuff, but he did this, and like you said, until they're ready for the change, there's nothing much you can do with it,
Yeah.
and he went to go meet with the counselor there, and they started talking, and then he told him, he said, and he told me, he said, I told him that until I get it into my head to want to change, there's nothing you can say and do. And he
Right.
said that they told him, you're right. You don't have to
Yep.
come back until you're ready.
Yeah.
And and it did, and he eventually did get some seek some help. He went drive for a while, long
Yeah.
about 5 years,
Yeah.
and he did all right, and but then he got back into it. But yeah, yeah, until you're ready, like the pain is ready for there's nothing you can really say.
No.
You just go in and plant the seeds and
That's all you
show
can
them
do.
the love that you still have for them.
Yeah. No, you
So
do it is. It's really, and that's the hardest part. Hardest part for people on the outside is watching it's almost like watching that person,
self
just live a
destruct.
life of just a total destruction and in every facet, and it's very difficult, extremely difficult. And but for those that are of faith, you've got to hand that over, and there's someone far more powerful that can handle these situations. A lot of people forget that God can do miracles in an instant and work in people's lives. And it's happened in my life. And that's why I want to share the encouragement with others that, He has the wherewithal to snap chains in that person's life and set them free. And
Amen,
that's
brother.
available to everybody.
Amen, brother. Hey, you mentioned earlier about the silver lining,
Yes.
and so
Well, yeah, he
I've
is.
told other people when you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you know it's not a train coming,
It ain't
you're
it. No, it's not a train, man.
yeah.
It's not a
So
train.
author of the
No,
book
no.
"Stop Hiding, Start Healing," Craig Brown on here again. I'm going to give me a copy of this.
Absolutely.
Get you a copy of this,
Absolutely.
and I'm come grab me a copy. So,
Absolutely.
all
Yeah,
right.
and you mentioned earlier, about, the condition of the person. Uh, what a lot of people don't, understand is that when a person is in the midst of their addiction, their emotional growth stopped completely. You see, there are 4
Mm,
quadrants in our life that we deal with, and that is emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Big 4. Every
mhm.
single one of those are specifically designed for us to be successful in our life, you know, in every facet of our life. But the person that's dealing with major life struggles, they shut down emotionally. And Christ Center Recovery is specifically designed to do is to dig up those emotions that have been suppressed forever and to help re-engage and get the emotional growth going again in one's life. Now, you and I, have you ever been in a situation where that older person acts like a total kid? Well, why? Who's immersed in addiction or drinking or whatever? They act like kids because they're emotionally, you know, there's been death emotionally, and they don't, and even mentally, and especially spiritually and physically, but they don't know how to, operate, as an adult, and grow up. A lot of childishness in life struggles, especially addiction. A lot of childishness.
Yeah, I'm glad again that talking with you and really enjoy the other people that's come through here, telling their stories and how they've overcome and to help the next person ahead. And I'm a big believer into we should all be serving somebody, so our fellow
Oh,
man.
oh yeah,
We're on this big ball of dirt here, not just to be selfish and play for ourselves, but to help the next person get it through their struggles so they can move forward. Because I know there's going to be a time again later in my life maybe tomorrow, who knows, that I'm going to need help, and I hope someone's there too. And even if it's pushed on, not pushed on, if I selfishly start something that's hurting me, I hope someone loves me enough to kick me in the pants
Right.
and confront me
Right.
to get back to where I needed to be.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about recovery and especially Christ-centered recovery in the church. It's supposed to be a place of good, sound accountability. I mean, we need that in our life. We need those trusted, safe people in our life. And that's a big reason why people don't want to change or fear changing because they don't have the right people around them, you know? Meaning people that have been to the valley and back and they're there in that circle, in that small group where they're getting help, encouragement, love, support, prayer, accountability, relationship where there's trust and safety. It's there, and a lot of people are scared to death about walking into that environment. But once they do, they're accepted, they're loved unconditionally. They realize, oh gosh, other people struggle with this too. A lot of people, especially with COVID, they isolate. I mean, if they isolated before COVID,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
did they ever isolate in COVID?
yeah.
And on the heels of this, man, we have seen so much havoc in people's lives that are struggling with isolation still, because it's one of those things. Isolation is very dangerous.
How long have you been working with your program to help other people?
20 over 23 years now.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
uh,
I was set free 37 years ago. Yep.
37. So,
Yeah. Yep.
I'm glad. I mean, I'm proud. I'm glad you found your way and everything like that. Again, I keep harping with my brother and other guy because that's all I know. Um, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that you're not down their road. So what I witnessed, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm glad you're out there helping the next person. That's um, man,
It's
that's
what it's all
godlike to
about.
me. So it's
Yeah.
godlike to me to again to help a. I just get overwhelmed, with my. I just knowing we're helping the next person coming. And
Yeah.
here's the beauty of it all again is there's a lot of times we don't know when we're helping someone and we'll never know.
I know.
And
Only
we
heaven
just
knows.
exactly
Only
we plant the little
heaven.
seeds, we let it
Right.
grow, and other people come in and do their part as well. And
Right.
so yeah.
That's right. Only heaven knows, you
Now
know?
how long is your program of course I'm assuming somehow in some way fashion it's a life learning, life continuing program.
Oh,
Because
always.
again, yeah, because again, if you slip up too many times, you're back to where you. So you've got to stay conscious of where you're at.
Oh, always. Oh, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in self-awareness, developing self-awareness. You see, James, it's interesting. We've been given this beautiful life, and it's a gift, right? And so many times people put in so much effort in everything else but themselves. Everything else but themselves. And that's why I'm saying, how am I doing emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually in those 4 areas of my life? And that's what Christ-centered recovery helps people understand, and learn about them. You see, a lot of people get into recovery because of a failed marriage, or they're being, threatened with whatever, and they, the individual, uh, feels as if, oh, I have to do this in order to save this or heal that or this relationship. I got to do it for them. No. Oh, no, 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 no. You got to do it for yourself. Learn about you. You see, in order for a marriage to heal, if you got two broken people, those two broken people better go work on their own brokenness first
Hmm.
and then work on all the components of marriage. So far too often people, get into, and I know there's really good programs and there are really good resources, but they get into marriage trying to reconciliation of marriage and communication and all that. But if you got broken people, man, each individual has to work on their path. One can't do it for the other. They can support love and love unconditionally each other, but they have to be on their. His brokenness could be far different from hers.
Yes, exactly.
And every person, we all have our fingerprints are and this they're our own. So we were made, wonderfully made as a masterpiece in his image. So learn about you. He wants nothing more for us to discover me and learn what makes. How do I deal with anger? How do I deal with jealousy? How do I deal with temptation? How do I deal with triggers? Why do I do this every time that this happens? Why do I get defensive? Why do I get depressed? You know, so Christ Centered Recovery is all about learning about us and developing self awareness.
You should be able to love yourself enough that you want to be, and some people may say you're being selfish by doing for yourself,
Oh,
but
no.
no,
No, no,
you've
no.
got, again, I tell the just a simple thing, that you need to get enough rest and sleep and to be better prepared. So because if you don't take care of your health, whether it's in recovery, whatever it is, you don't take care of your health, you can't do anything to help the next person.
You know why
Uh,
people struggle loving others? They don't love themselves.
They have a hard time with their own self.
You listen, and when you get a hold of God's love, I mean, and forgiveness and, grace and mercy. I mean, it's but I see it all the time. I was with a couple this past year, and they were having some difficulties and whatever, and I just felt prompted to ask the husband. I said, "Do you love yourself?" And he just started bawling
Oh, okay.
and crying his eyes out. And it was just a defining moment and a real sweet moment. Uh, and it unleashed. It allowed. He was asked the question probably for the first time in his entire life, and it just took him on a different trajectory.
There you go.
In that um, he's like, no wonder I struggle. No wonder I struggle loving my wife when I'm having difficulty loving myself because
Mm.
of what I've done in my life, what I've done in my marriage, what I've done in relationships, what I've done with my kids. And people, that's where the shame comes in. We haven't even touched on that yet. But shame comes from the pit of hell. And the devil wants nothing more than for us to be in bondage to that shame. And that's exactly why we hide rather than heal, because churches are full of people that are in bondage to shame, and they would rather suffer and struggle without telling anybody and hide instead of heal. And that happened in this couple's life. I've seen it happen in so many others' lives, where they are set free. They're set free from shame. They're set free from that guilt and that pain of the past. They begin to love themselves and ultimately others.
Yeah, it's amazing how Satan, boy, he doesn't hesitate none whatsoever to throw it right back in your face, and then you're questioning, I'm not good enough. I did this, I did
Oh,
that. And then you mentioned earlier, and I'm really big on this, that we've got to learn to forgive. And it's not just forgive whoever we felt may have harmed us, hurt us, but we need to forgive ourselves.
oh
You
yeah,
know, we did something 40 years ago,
yeah. You
forgive
gotta
it,
let it
move
go.
forward. You learn from it. You 40 minutes ago, if it's not putting you in jail, let's go forgive and move on. Okay. Even if you go to jail, you can
Yeah.
still forgive yourself, move forward, have the best life possible from there. So,
Uh,
yeah, I'm
Yeah. I
really
say,
big on the forgiveness.
yeah, I say that often. That is, the person that has the person or persons that have the most control over you is the person you've never been able to forgive. And
Oh, wow, that's good. I like that.
people struggle with that all their life, and that's
Yeah.
the beautiful thing. And that is once you enter into a safe, trusted environment to be able to heal. And where you're able to talk about that person, you're able to bring that person up, you do an inventory through the steps of your recovery, and instead of hiding it, you finally get to the place where you realize that you were forgiven by the cross, and the instruction is you are to forgive others and be able to forgive others. And I mentioned earlier, how do you love others when you can't love yourself? But how can you forgive others when you don't forgive yourself? You got to be able to do that both in order to be successful emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Hmm. I'm just amazed what's going on here with you. I'm just so proud of everything. I'm just glad we met through Brother
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
So Phil's a good one again. So um, yeah, I'm not sure what to even ask now because you're hitting stuff that I like to talk about with all this again forgiveness, moving on, persevering. Man,
Yes.
you've got it all.
Mm.
You got it all going on with me here.
Well,
So
that's good. We're
um,
that's two brothers being put together to have a good talk in the afternoon. That's good. It's what
so
it's all about. There's nothing
yeah.
what you this is what is most important in life. It truly is. To be able to break it down and you offering a platform for others to tune in, to listen, to watch, to it's hopefully, as you mentioned earlier, plant a seed. And no matter with every one of your shows and with every opportunity I have or privilege to be with other people, my prayer is, Lord, let something I say or something you do through me, you know, uh, impact that heart some way, shape, or form, where it prompts them to be able to move forward, to stop hiding and start healing, because it's happening everywhere in our society. It's not just churches, not just people struggling. What everybody is, hides from things, you know, and the good news is there's a healer out there that is ready to set them free, for sure.
Yeah, I like the title of your book and the cover. It's very just simple and direct, but yeah, I think it's powerful.
Well,
Especially
thank
you're
you.
saying the stop hiding. People want to hide what's going on and everything,
Yeah.
and to start the healing. And so
Yes.
I'd mentioned earlier about the my acceptance and everything. I teach people the ABCs. A, if you can accept your adversity.
Yes.
B, begin your battling. That's finding mentor coaches, a minister,
Yeah.
somebody's been through what you've gone through, an organization that can help you get through. And then C, now let's conquer the challenge.
That's right.
So
That's right. That's a
it's I was gonna
that's a
say it's nothing outlandish. Just keep it they'll keep it simple, stupid thing. ABC like yours is stop hiding, start healing. So
yeah. Yeah. Yes, interesting. I've gotten a number, when I was at a convention, I had a booth. Actually, you can see my shameless self-promotion behind me, but
no,
this is
you're doing great.
my booth stuff, but people would walk by and they'd see the, title and they'd be like, "Oh." Yeah,
Uh,
they're like, "Oh boy, do I
uh,
have to? Do I have to stop?" Yeah, it
yeah,
prompted some
yeah, exactly.
inter
Yeah, because they're not ready at this time.
Right. And
So
it does, it triggers, and we haven't even talked about triggers yet, but, it triggers something, and that was the point of it, when I was inspired to write the book, and the Lord was like, "Okay, listen, you got 2 decades, you goes of what I've been giving you now, let's put it down on paper." The title came instantly, because it's something I did, and it's something I've observed so many people do, and especially the best place to go to hide is churches, but that's in the book as well. But you know, we do it.
well, you go to church because that's the normal thing most people are doing,
Yeah,
okay? And so you can hide in there and
yeah.
still keep your secret, and
Without a doubt.
you look as normal as possible to everybody else.
Everybody, we all try to look good in church. Let's face it. Okay, we do try to look good, but when God created the church, He created it for healing. He created the church. And then some churches do it well, some churches don't. Okay. The church is going through some major transformations all across the country. You know, I think Barna said that close to 50% of pastors want to quit. It's just different. The church is really going through some interesting changes. So you have to find a church where the gospel is being preached first and foremost, where where God has the heart of that pastor locked up, and where it's biblical and preaching right from that Bible, not deviating at all.
Hmm.
And that should be the norm, but you have to be very discerning when you go to these places. But I've been behind the scenes. I've been serving for all these years, and all I know is offering an environment that is safe, trusting, caring, welcoming, loving, for people to heal. That's first and foremost.
And I would think, especially being non-judgmental on them.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
because again, they're worried what people are thinking,
always.
and yeah, instead of just, and I know it's easier said than done. Okay, because again, I'm not addicted to this stuff. I'm
Right.
addicted to other things. I told you, banana splits.
Oh
But
boy. Yep. Yep.
but yeah, that's it. People, they've got to get over the being ashamed, the embarrassment,
It's
to
hard.
seek that help. And again, when the pain is greater, then
Right.
it's time for them to recognize the change.
But the condemnation that
Yeah.
we anyone can bring on themselves. Listen, it's tough enough out there. It is tough enough out there to for us to but that's what happens over and over and over again with people that struggle with life struggles. And when they fail, when they make a mistake, when they slip, when they do whatever, it's the condemnation. And the enemy just thrives on that. And you mentioned being non-judgmental. Of course not. The church, there should be not 1 ounce of that in any church and anywhere. And unfortunately, guess what? Churches are full of imperfect people.
Hmm.
Yeah, imperfect. I wish everybody was safe. I wish everybody was perfect. Wish everybody had been through the pit and back and is healed and hurt and known how to overcome and persevere. But that hasn't happened, right? That hasn't happened in every case. So again, yeah, non-judgmental, and that's why I say just be totally. I accept you for who you are, no matter what you've done, and that's the cross. You know, that is everything about being a believer and being biblically sound, and that is you care for anybody and everybody. No matter what they've done. Now, as caregivers and people helpers, we have limitations, but we have a network of people that we can refer to. Good, Christ-centered therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, recovery, rehab places, and other things like that. You know,
I was going to say a long time ago, and I forgot as we got started here, that my brother, he was one of them. I call it a functional alcoholic, where
yeah,
he worked all day and
yes,
he just did his thing at night. But he'd get up and work and work and work, and he was not a mechanic, self-employed, and
yeah.
so yeah. So there's a lot of people that living a good life. They're just
Oh,
destroying
absolutely.
themselves slowly
Yeah,
from this.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Happens all the time. It's not the homeless person on the street. It's pervasive. It is everywhere. It's everywhere. And that's why I mean, any environment that we're in, there are people that are struggling, but you wouldn't know because they hide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you wouldn't know. Yeah,
so everybody.
yeah, but then on the back end, after it's discovered, you're like, man, I had no idea. I had no clue. Well, of course not, because we're good at hiding. It all started in Genesis chapter 3.
Yeah.
When Adam and Eve were busted, what'd they do? They hid. They hid from God.
Hmm.
Same thing. It's been going on since Genesis chapter 3. And people are so surprised. Oh my gosh, I don't know why hello, you know, it entered in then. And because chapter 2, it says specifically, forget the chapter and verse, there was no shame, or they felt no shame
Hmm.
until 3, till
Yeah.
they got busted. And then all of a sudden, shame enters in, fear enters in. They begin to hide from God. And that's just so why people do it today? That's exactly why they do it today, because the enemy wreaked havoc then when he entered in the garden, and he wreaks havoc now in good people's lives by an abundance of shame. Oh, you call yourself a Christian, going to school or going to church, and you worship, you serve, you're in leadership, you're in this and that. But yet, what about that issue you have, or that hidden addiction, or that affair, or this, or
Throw
that,
it
or
right
that, or
back in
that?
your face.
Yeah. And so naturally, I'm going to do what they did. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to hide because you've mentioned it. They fear judgment. They fear condemnation because of shame. Well, I'm here to tell you, stop hiding and start healing. Make 2023 the year you are set free. Psalm 107 says they cried out to the Lord in their troubles, and he heard their cry, and he snapped their chains. And that should be for each and every one of you that might be struggling. That should be your 2023 scripture.
Amen, brother. Tell it like it is. Don't hold back. Author of the book, Craig Brown here. Stop hiding, start healing. I like I have to go to this other page to get the bottom reading. Discover how to be set free from the pain and shame of your past. Again, you got to forgive yourself from that past
Yeah.
so that you can live a freedom, meaning, and purpose.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
a life of meaning, freedom, and purpose.
Right.
So, um, all right, Mr. Craig. Hey, I appreciate this. I've enjoyed that you and I got to meet, and
Yes, sir.
would like to continue on meeting and talking other times.
Let's do it.
So I really enjoyed this. And Brother Phil, thank you for bringing us together.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
uh,
Yep.
Craig, if you want to tell people how to get your book and your website, any other program you got going on, your social media, you can take off.
Yeah, I have a couple different websites. My main website is craigdbrown.com, craigdbrown.com, and that is for my speaking engagements. And if anybody would like me to come and speak, that is my main page for my speaking. I also have Stop Hiding, Start Healing Book.com, Stop Hiding, Start Healing Book.com. I have a Facebook page, Stop Hiding, Start Healing. I'm also on LinkedIn as Craig Brown. And actually, I don't have the website in front of me, but I just produced and completed an online course that is a companion to my book. And I can send it. I don't know if I sent that, but I can send that to you as well. But
Yeah.
it's a course where I take you through every chapter of the book, um, and it's as a companion to the book. So I have
We'll
that
make sure we
available
get
as
those
well.
links and we'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll
So,
get that to you. Yep.
all right, Craig. Again, appreciate you being here. It's helped me to learn more about moving forward, and again, just the shame and of
Sure.
hiding and everything to help me understand. So hopefully, I can help somebody else later on.
Absolutely.
And I will be getting a copy of the book. So, and
Yeah.
from there, all right, Craig, thank you for being here. If we know people are hurting and struggling today, and if you can leave us with a powerful message to help them get through today, it'll be a blessing.
Absolutely. Well, as we've mentioned numerous times during this show, when the pain is greater than your fear, your fear of changing, your fear of what people think about you. When your pain is greater than your fear, you are ready to change. You're ready to do whatever it takes to get well, to be healed, to be restored, anything. You're ready. And also, everything you've ever wanted in your life is on the other side of fear. Everything. And I just encourage you, as I mentioned, Psalm 107, when you cry out for help, when you cry out to God for help, oh, he hears you. And it says he heard your cry and he's going to snap your chains. So instead of doing it alone, instead of being isolated, instead of not wanting to share, you want to keep hiding instead of healing. When the pain's greater than your fear, you will be ready. Cry out because he's standing by to set you free.
Amen. Again,
Yes,
author of the
sir.
book, Stop Hiding, Start Healing, Craig Brown. Hey, be sure to get this, get a copy of it, get it to rush order so you can give it someone as a Christmas gift. And
Yes,
not
sir.
only as a Christmas gift, anytime during the day, be a great gift to help, especially someone that you love, to hopefully find their way out to get
Yes.
this recovery started. So, Craig, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir, James. Thank
Or,
you. Great to
yes,
great to be
sir.
with you.
All right,
God
thank
bless you,
you.
man.
Everybody else, hey, I'm Dr. James Purdue, the Professor of Perseverance. Thank you for listening to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your